And 24, that's right, the first month of 24 is gone. Gone!
Pinch the punch.
Whoosh! Yeah, that's right, hey? Well, hey, I haven't heard that in a while. You can catch the cave on air, on the line, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on the Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Archives are free. Still, get in there, listen to whatever you like, as long as you like. Another good reason to donate. Yes, that's right. We're on a. Maybe we should have one of those telethons, like a fundraising telethon. Like everybody has like a talent, and then you can just maybe broadcast it on YouTube or something. And I'll play the clarinet, and then Dave, does a bit of a belly dance and honky dory. Here we go. That's not a bad idea. It's
And
also not a good idea.
And if you'd like Dave to put his T-shirt back on, donate now.
It'll cost you extra. It puts on the lotion. Anyway,
It's the hose again.
Before we start broadcasting at your anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
It's the dark, sorry, not dark and junk. It's the Bungjalung.
Bill the Bunch-along for you, of course, sir, and for myself, the Dark People. And we would like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. Thank you very much. Pay extra to keep the shirt on. Hey, you never know what people like, Dave. You never know what's going to happen in the world. I'll tell you that. That's the truth. I was listening to the radio today, and people were talking about Lotto. In Australia, we've at the moment got the biggest jackpot we ever had. $200 million. Don't know if it's been won. Haven't checked. Don't know. Maybe it has. Maybe it has. Maybe it has jackpot.
I haven't announced the winners yet.
Okay, 200 mil in any event today. I know in the States you had like $1 billion or whatever, which is, but you've got 300 million people, and we got 27. So the greater New York area, that's us. But I was listening to this radio station, and this one lady talking, and she said, "Oh, it's 1 in 127 million to 1 to win. That's about right." With Lotto, it's those stats. I did statistics at uni as well, and so it's a very unlikely thing to win. In fact, what they said, there was another guy that came on, but they said you're more likely to die today unexpectedly than to win the lotto, which is true, because several thousand people would have passed away today, and several thousand people didn't win the lottery today. So I think that's a fair statistic. However, and this is the kicker here, right? And I know people talk about tax for the stupid. That's what lotto is. All those things. Now, it gives you the possibility of it's like a valve. Lotto and things like that are like a valve. But, and this is the important statistic to remember, the important math. If you remember nothing else about Lotto and playing Lotto and winning Lotto, if you do not play Lotto, your chances of winning the Lotto are 0.
Mm-hmm.
Not 1 in 127 million. Not 1 in a billion, not 1 in 5. It's 0. Okay, you have no chance if you don't enter. And the thing is this. Well, yes, this one has been jackpotting for probably 4 or 5 weeks now, something like that. The other lottos that are being played, and somebody does win it. You see, somebody does win it. So it is not impossible. Yes, it is a highly unlikely event, right? But it's a completely impossible event if you don't play, right? So I'm not saying you should invest in life savings. That's stupid, of course not. But if you have a bit of like a $5 or $10 or whatever it costs, that's a fair go. And you don't know. That's the thing. Every combination of numbers is as likely as any other combination of numbers. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is just as likely as any other combination. Okay, that's. I mean, you'd say, oh, but that's that can't be. No, that's what it is, guys. That's exactly what it is. It's just as likely as any other. And that should show you just how difficult it would be to pick a winning combination, right? And if it allows you to dream maybe a little bigger, and maybe you're the lucky person that can win it, which will allow you to exit this puppet show and live your life on your own terms, no longer tied to the corporate wheel or whatever wheel you might be tied to. because that's what it gives you, freedom and choice. That's all money does. Choice and freedom. Perceived choice, perceived freedom, maybe. But real enough, if you have it. People say money doesn't make happy. Let's just investigate. Let's just look at that, Dave. Money does not make happy. Okay. I'll buy it. I'll say, okay, I can see that's true. It doesn't buy you happiness, but I guarantee you're a lot more content lying in your infinity pool, overlooking the cityscape, sipping $5,000 champagne, than you would be where you are working stiff, working 50, 60 hours a week, and I don't know, gobbling down cheeseburgers at lunch break. Okay, that's some step in the dark. Step in the dark. so because who says money doesn't make you happy? You know who says that? The rich people say that.
That's right.
That's who says it. If you go to a single mother with 2 or 3 kids, school age, for argument's sake, who has to pay rent and put food on the table, medical insurance, maybe didn't have a college degree because there was no money to go to college, maybe for her, right? This happens.
Works 2 low-paying jobs.
Maybe 2, maybe 3. I mean, who knows, right? And breaks her back trying to make ends meet. This is not... See, in America, this is funny, actually. It's similar to India. In India, it's more like a religious thing. But in America, if you're poor, that's your fault, right? You didn't work hard enough. I want to say here that for the last 60 years, the economic system that has been in place, maybe longer than that, maybe call it 70 years, whatever, has not supported the old American dream of working hard and making. It hasn't. Before that, you could argue, well, there was some truth to it. You could be your own person, a self-made man or woman, all these wonderful things. But for the last 60, 70 years, I don't think that dream is still there. In Australia, certainly, the Australian dream is dead in the water. The median house price, Dave, in Sydney is $1.1 million.
That's crazy.
That's yes, it is. Yes, it is. 30 years ago, the median house price was maybe $100,000 in Sydney. 30 years ago. Okay, so now it's 11 times. It's 11 times that. 11 times for a house. Okay, salaries back then, I think a good salary was maybe anything upwards from $50,000 a year. That was pretty good. Okay, so twice your salary a year that you could buy that house. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I can tell you that the salary today is not $550,000 in Australia or Sydney, for that matter. So the salary hasn't gone up by a factor of 11. Okay, it hasn't, and that's really the issue that we're facing globally now. This devaluation of our labor, because that's what it is.
That's right.
It's not that money is worth less. It's our labor is worth less. So we're still maybe doing the same kind of work, maybe working harder even and longer, right? But relatively speaking, it's worth a lot less. That's the real inflation that we have to worry about, right? That's what the parasites like. And in fact, they would like to pay us nothing. If they could, that'd be great. How good would that be? Come on. Let's burn some owls and dance naked through the woods here. Let's just do that.
Bring on the living wage, then they can get us for nothing.
I like where your head is at, Dave. You're management material. Hey, look at you. Hey, but all jokes aside, that's where we're heading.
Yeah.
Right? Because forget inflation, forget the value of money, forget that. Think of it in terms of your worth. The labor you provide, what is it worth? Okay. Now everybody's focused on currency and indexation and inflation, etc., right? Forget that. Forget it. It's a complete fantasy. It's nonsense. Okay? None of that is real. What is really happening is that you are worth less, or you're considered to be worth less. And not worthless, but worth less. There's a space here between worth and less. Okay? You're not yet worthless, just worth less. And that's going to go on. At the same time that you're worth less, at the same time, over the last 5 years, the richest people in the world have gotten a lot richer.
They're worth more.
So they are. Thank you, Dave. That's exactly right. As Dave said it. 100%. Full marks. Top marks. Head of the class. They're worth more. Not net worth. I'm talking about they as individuals are considered worth more. Right? Is that fair? Is the puppet show still fun? Do we still love to watch the puppet show and eat our pizza? No, it's not. It isn't. And there's all kinds of obfuscation going on, and this is happening and that is happening. See, we were due. There was meant to be tax reform, which would have been good for Australia. That's now dead in the water. It's not really a reform. It's been changed. There were 2 stages of tax cuts, which were implemented over the last couple of years. The final stage was going to be this year. It's still happening, but different. This was the tax cut for the higher income earners. No, not rich people, mind you. Okay, these are not rich people. These are what we would now consider the upper middle class, I guess. Upwards of $200,000, which is not that much money in Sydney, I can tell you. So they would have gotten a fairly healthy tax return, about $9,000 a year, extra in the pocket. That has now halved to $4,500, and that the difference is now given to the lower income
and middle, yeah,
and middle. Now, I got no issue with that, principally speaking. I really don't. I think that's actually not a bad idea. The problem is this: yes, you have taken away from those guys, and you are now not reforming the tax system, which would have been very helpful. But it's also meaningless. Why do I say that? So there aren't that many people that earn that much money. There aren't, right? But there are a lot of people that are earning a lot less. So it's low and middle income earners as a group are much bigger than the higher income earners. So the money that was meaningful to the higher income earners is now meaningless, more or less, to the low and middle income earners, because it translates to them to about $40 a week or a fortnight. About $40, maybe $20. I can't remember the exact number. It was around that as an average. Now, it could. I guess it could buy a tank of petrol a week. Well, actually, no, it can't. It can buy a quarter of a tank of petrol.
That's right.
So a meaningful tax cut and a proper tax reform has given way to a populist approach. Again, principally, I'm not against it. Right? I'm not. But if you do that, then you have to make it more meaningful to the lower income earners, because this is not meaningful. Right.
If they cut 10% off everything,
yeah,
that would be meaningful. Everyone would get something.
I completely agree. I mean, Australia is taxed very high. I mean, the only other place that is probably taxed higher is Scandinavia, right? But in Scandinavia, all the social services are free.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, not the case in Australia. So in Australia, yeah, there's Medicare for certain things, right? So there's this medical insurance.
We do pay that though at tax time.
Well, that's right. There's something called a Medicare levy, and the more you earn, guess what?
The more you pay.
That's what happens. Public transport is not free.
Nope.
Education, except for public schools up to year 12, is not free. So university used to be free, is no longer free. There are a lot of private schools which will cost you an arm and a leg. I think if you've got 2 kids, 3 kids, you're looking at well over $100,000 a year in private school fees. Isn't it cray? I mean, what?
Just think about what you've got to be on to be able to comfortably afford that.
That's
the boys' club that they're promoting for only the wealthy to join.
Yeah,
that's the membership fee.
Yeah. Or if you are a middle income earner, let's say, for argument's sake, and you will sacrifice to be able to afford that. And then some people do. They sacrifice, right? Just so the kids have a shot at a better education, but a future meeting the right people, as it were, right? That's all part of it.
That's right.
So, what else? Education, healthcare, and transport, right? So the big ones, they're not free in Australia. And in fact, we have the privilege, especially in Sydney, to pay enormous amounts of toll for the roads we use.
That's
enormous.
right.
Like, I think because I do have to work, I live out west, which is, about 30 clicks away from the city. But I have to go a bit closer. There's an office in Macquarie Park, it's called, and then there's Alzheimer's I have to go in the city. And if I have to go to the city, for argument's sake, and then back again, and then maybe even further afield, I could easily look at $100 a day in tolls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what? It's so the question becomes, where do all my taxes go, right? Seriously, because you pay a fairly large amount of excise on fuel that goes to the government. That's meant to pay for roads, right, and all that, right? It's meant to. You pay a good chunk of your income in tax, and then you pay indirect tax with a GST. So everything. So essentially, at the end of the day, Dave, I think I said down once, 70% of your income, directly and indirectly, finds its way to the government somehow.
That's right.
Oh. So is that fair? No, of course it isn't. And the super rich, like both individuals and corporations, pay less tax than Dave and I.
Mm-hmm.
In real terms, not as a percentage or proportion, but in actual monetary terms, they pay less tax than Dave and I. How is that possible? Well, because the game is rigged. We're all looking at the cave wall, the shadows dancing, hurrah, eating our popcorn and cheeseburgers, right? And happy in the mantra that money doesn't buy you happiness.
Keeps you on the treadmill, that's what it does.
That's what it does, my friend. I don't know, my friend. How have you been today?
Oh, don't ask me.
Ask
someone else.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Look, we are beset on all sides by the inequities of evil men. If that sounds familiar, yeah, I do love Pulp Fiction as well, and I have read the Bible. But it's a truth. It's a truth that we are beset on all sides by the inequities of evil men. Also, we must deal with the vicissitudes of life, such as they present themselves to us.
That's right.
Our tempest tossed in a maelstrom of everyday life, and somehow we have to navigate, find a beacon in the distance that shows us the way.
Through the valley of the shadow of death.
That's right. I shall fear no evil. And you shouldn't fear evil. And you shouldn't be confused or uncertain either, right? And then hopefully that this station can provide a bit of a beacon here. Hopefully the shows that Dave and I present to you provide a little bit of a beacon. And that's all we can do, to be honest with you. We lack the means for any more meaningful contribution into the world. And Dave and I have discussed this. Look, I'll let you in on a couple of secrets here. There are no producers. There's no team behind this, behind Platos Cave or The Shiny Side Out, except for Dave and I. That's it.
There's no team of writers. No. There's no multimedia.
No.
People. There's no producers, editors, sound people. Nothing.
Nothing. It really is just Dave and I. That's it. And of course, the good people at the station who keep the service going, etc., etc. Yeah, absolutely. So that's why the donations are so important as well, right? And we're watching. Obviously, we're part of the world. We're watching all these other productions, and there are a couple of channels we really enjoy. And then but you realize once you look into those channels that they're professionally produced.
They look simple.
They look simple.
Yeah.
But there's a team of many heads working on those shows, which you can tell by the production value and the smoothness of the presentation. Right? These are professionals. Look, I enjoy it. Right? I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but it takes money to make money. Is probably what I want to say here.
Yeah.
And impossible to really have an impact unless you reach a massive audience with highly professional content, especially in video format. Because what we're doing is sort of old school, just a voice cast, a podcast, if you will, right? Much more effective to send our message in a multimedia format, which would be a video. Very punchy, with graphics, etc., etc. That would be so cool if we at the time I could afford a team to put it together.
That's right.
That'd be brilliant. But it's really, it's not for lack of trying. It is just that there's simply it's no good way to do something like the professional studios and still feed your family, because both Dave and I have to work to live. But I think there's a bit of inflection here, I guess. And Dave, please jump in. I think that our messages are getting through, because sometimes we hear echoes of the things that we talk about, maybe some weeks or even months after we spoke about it. Is this a coincidence? Possible.
Using the exact phrasing too.
There's that, right? I mean, one of the biggest things for us, of course, was the awareness cascade and SARS-CoV-2, but then also certain usage of terms, like we just don't want to call the elite anymore. We want to call the elite parasites.
That's right.
Because that's what I think they are. And then we heard other people out in the media doing the same thing. Did we get through? Did it somehow sink into the collective unconscious? I don't know.
I hope that we brought it up, and that others have reflected upon it themselves after hearing it and going, I believe that that's true. How did I not see it that way before?
That would be nice. That if that were the truth, then I'd say Dave and I we've punched well above our weight class. It's all I can say to that.
Tremendous production values.
Yeah. I do have to say, though, that I'm glad that these other, I guess, content creators, researchers, etc., are doing well.
Yeah,
and because there's it's much better for good material to reach people than poorly presented material, and there's some really fantastic production outfits out there that are putting together some really, really good stuff. And look, probably for me, one of the more, maybe even the most impressive people of late, even though he's been at it for decades, is Graham Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
He's now in his 70s, but I really enjoy his investigations. I enjoy his presentations, the things he finds. I think he's putting his heart into it, and we haven't interviewed him. Maybe we can one day. It'd be nice. But all of the people that we interviewed, okay, all of the researchers, writers, different thinkers, if you will, they're really doing it because they want to do it. They're putting their heart into it, right? And they spend as much of themselves, they give as much of themselves as they can. Not all of them are still with us, but you know what really hurts, Dave? When I see their memory besmirched. Okay? And when they're called pseudoscientists and conspiracy theorists and crackpots and all manner of.
Let's include CIA shills.
Look,
the misinformation people are out there, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's the truth. And it's really hard to tell, and that's it's hard to tell for us as well, because in order to spread good misinformation, it has to have some truth in it, right? But how do you separate the truth from the shill? That's the tough bit, right? The thing is this: if you're saying things that they don't want you to say, the ominous them, right? Who are they? Oh, well, that's for you to figure out. They will shut you up. Julian Assange, right? Who did not engage in espionage, to be clear. He did not steal anything from anywhere. He was given things. Okay? I don't think he even paid for it. And then he posted it. He edited it. And he's a publisher. He published it.
So he selectively chose what to publish.
Yeah, correct. And it is clear that they want to punish him. They want to make an example of him, right?
Yeah.
If you're speaking out against, certain people in Russia, chances are that you fall out of a window. Okay.
Those slippery floors will get you every time.
I just can't leave that alone. I don't know. But yeah.
Little bit killing.
Little bit. And so you know that you hit a nerve, right? And I say it again. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. We've been at this since 2010, I think, right, Dave and I, thereabouts. And in that time, we interviewed a whole bunch of people, and there are a whole bunch of people also interacting with the station, not necessarily just with us, but certainly with the station. And I look at all the people that have passed away that we interviewed, and in addition to that, all the people that were associated with this radio station, producers, hosts, staff, etc., etc. And it's just a very high number. Now, we're all different ages, right? I get that. But the number of people that have passed away, it's just a random selection of people, really, right? I mean, the people that are associated with the station, working on it, presenting on it, etc., as well as the guests that come on. You couldn't ask for a more random sample of people, really, right? From talk about age, creed, ethnicity, whatever. But the number of people that have passed on seems abnormally high.
It does.
For it's when those microbiologists
MH17
started to yeah, before that even started to die off. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
That was what? That's a bit odd. It was. It still is. It still is odd. It's like people disappearing in the parks. That's odd.
Hey, Mackie, I've got a point here. Mel Gibson's role in that conspiracy movie that he was in.
Oh, yes.
As he's getting dragged away by the police.
Yes.
Or the authorities.
Yes.
He says, which one was true?
Yeah, what was I right about?
Yeah, what was I right about? That's it.
I remember that. Yes.
That's how you feel.
Yeah. That's correct.
I'm not saying that I'm being carted away by the authorities, but when you touch the nerve, then you're going to get stung. And I think that when we've seen a crazy amount, a disproportionate amount of conspiracy theorists, I want to be really nice. These are just researchers who have come up with ideas, joined dots together, who pass away. It's like, how is that statistically significant compared to the background? Just the literal amount of people, actually the actual amount of people who have been involved in this station who have passed, the guests that we've interviewed that have passed, I didn't think that's some strange numbers there. They're very large.
Look, I have a similar group of people I interact with that I in the last 20 years, in fact, that I work with in the IT field, right? And in fact, this is actually a larger group of people than the people associated with the station, hosts, guests, etc. And out of that group, now mind you, quite a few of them are quite old, but out of that group, I know that 1, 2, 3 have passed away. 3.
Wow.
In the last 20 years, right? And not scores of people.
I've lost half the form. My graduating years, half of it's gone.
Are you serious?
Serious. We had a. This is interesting. It'll be short, but we had I think a 25th year anniversary, and we had, a good turnout for what we understood at the time, and then the next year it was less again, and we're like, where is everybody? Where did everybody go? And we did some research and found that they passed away. It wasn't that we had very little RSVPs, just that they don't exist anymore.
Wow.
And look, we're from the what was that video I saw the other day? I'm from the mindful generation. We were mindful. Don't stick the fork in the electrical outlet. Parents didn't care. They weren't around. We didn't have safety matting in our playgrounds. We built stuff and then used our BMXs to jump over it. Right? We played on gym equipment at school that would be
absolutely
discontinued today. It would be banned by the government. So, we didn't even have air conditioning. Let's put it that way. And plus, we were just left to our own devices all day. And we still survived because we were mindful.
Yes.
We made the right choices. Yes. Well, not all of us did. But most of us made the right choices.
Yeah, because ultimately, I have this theory: if you treat somebody like an adult, they'll probably act like an adult. Now, of course, you can't expect children to act like adults. That's nonsense. But if you teach them right and say, look, this is the world. Just be mindful, like Dave said.
Yeah.
Be careful what you do, etc., etc. Be home for dinner, whatever the case may be. When the lights go out, right? Street lights. When the streets get on. When the street lights come on, you come home for dinner.
That's right.
And look, we played in dangerous areas. Like looking back at this, it was. And in Germany, we're allowed to have firecrackers, right?
Good on you.
I'm serious.
No, we had them when I was young.
Not anymore, right?
No.
And we had this one firecracker. It was a cube. It was a cube-shaped thing that had like
the Borg cube.
Yeah. A very short fuse.
Yep,
right?
of course.
It was bigger than my fist, I think.
Wow. Right.
Well, back then when I was young.
Yeah, that's okay. What did it do?
Oh, it just blew up. That's it. It just blew up. That's all it did. No, there was no spark. And it was wrapped in I want to say rope, like little, it looked like it was wrapped in rope all around.
Mm-hmm.
And we just put it into the ground and lit it, or into a can or whatever, and then it would just blow up. And then we played fort.
Very
too,
nice.
We played fort. So what we did,
forts.
we had these guns which would make noises, and we would attack.
Guns. Yep.
Yeah. In an adventure playground, let's call it. Let's call it an adventure playground.
Sure.
That's been nice. And we used to have these, I can't remember what they were called, but we used to have these bombs, right? And we'd light them, and then we would throw them
of course.
at the fort, as you would. And to this day, I'm astounded that nobody actually got hurt.
We had the ball shooters.
Oh.
And we'd point them at each other and just go for it.
Nice.
No safety protection, because that was, we were children.
Yeah, plus we're hot. Actually, we didn't know what hard meant then.
No.
We're just playing.
That's right.
And And I know that I know. See, I give you an example. I want to say I was 5 years old. I think I was 5 years old, and I was out with my friends. We're outside playing, and probably 10 minutes from my house, and we all dared each other to jump over this wall. Now I wasn't very athletic when I was young at all, not even close. And I tried to jump over this. And this is a pitiful wall. It's not even a wall. It's just like a little rock outcropping. Okay, that's all it was. A couple of bricks high. But I couldn't clear it. So my foot got
Snagged.
caught.
Yep.
Yeah, and I landed on my arm and I broke my upper arm.
Oh boy.
And I had to have my arm in a sling for 6 weeks and
A
it
cast.
plastered.
Mhm.
My entire upper body was cast and it was some. But
Wow.
my point is, we were
Yeah.
like 5 and completely unsupervised. My father had a bad feeling and he came and got me. And then we went to the
Oh, I
hospital
remember
and all
that
that.
story. Yeah.
But ultimately, you're just out there exploring the world, right? That's what you do. And today, I don't see it that way anymore. I don't think we let our children do these things anymore, or not as much as we used to. Certainly not in the city. Country might be different, and maybe other countries are different to Australia, But I feel we are more, I don't know, cautious, Dave, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And at my school, we had bows and arrows and rifles. And I've told this story before on Shiny Side Out, but we had the rifles, and this wasn't my year. That was the year above us, and the teacher had decided to go home and left the children with nowhere to store the rifles, so they just took them home. And they rode their bikes home and brought them back the next day and put them in the lockers. I couldn't imagine anyone allowing that today, but that's what happened. Now, I heard interviews with British youngsters, teens to 20s, about that story that came out, that I read out on the weekend, I think, which was about the conscription in the next 6 years, possibly in England, but they're passing a bill to allow it to happen. And the reasoning is because, Ukraine's running out of troops, and Britain's going to have troops on the ground, but it's all going to be conscripts. So, okay. So they decided to interview the young people about it. And these people they're pretty soft. I think the world will come to an end at this point when we ask that generation, say 18 to 35, right, to save our lives. Because one guy goes, I don't get up until at least 11. I'm playing games all night. Who's got time for going to war, right? 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 And one lady was saying equally soft language about it, but saying she hasn't got time for doing that because I've got to do these other things, right? It's just an inconvenience. Plus, I don't really exercise, so not going to do that. Walking with the 35 kilos of equipment, it would be like putting a slug inside 35 kilos of equipment. That's what this person would be like. They would be incapable of moving. They'd be pinned to the ground with 35 kilos on their person.
That's nice.
Right? I don't get up early. Right? All of these different excuses from the generation that doesn't care. They're only about themselves, not for the greater good. They don't have the passion or the patriotism to fight, even if they're conscripted.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being the drill sergeant, trying to whip them into shape? Good God.
Oh.
That would be so hard. We've lost a lot of drill sergeants this week.
It'll be a cross between Full Metal Jacket and I think what's the one with Bill Murray?
Those Stripes.
Stripes. That's it. It'll be Full Metal Jacket Stripes.
That's the fact, Jack.
That's the fact, Jack.
I wonder if we're going to see some of those movies return.
It's a remake.
No, I think possibly to have young people in it to see the value of fighting.
Oh, I see. Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, if they remade
There's
it,
a script. There's a script right there. Let me tell you.
That's the one.
Mackie and I will write it. It'll be awesome.
Not a problem. But that would be funny. It would be so.
I need
funny.
a retainer though.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
But it's a fair point. Would they be able to cope? And the answer is, well, you know what? Probably not. This is really, I guess it's a little bit on the nose, but what it says is good times create weak people. Or it said men in the original, but let's call it weak people. Mm-hmm. Weak people create bad times. But then bad times create strong men or people, and strong people create good times, and sort of like a cycle, if you're with me on that one. And I think that's what we're seeing here, right? We're seeing the cycling through. It's not as simplistic as what I just said, but we're cycling through a generation of people now that we have mollycoddled.
I love that phrase.
I know, right? Me too. We've mollycoddled them into I don't even know, into oblivion. I want to say here, because you can't raise your voice, you can't swear, you can't be inappropriate. I don't even know what you can say and can't say anymore, I'll be honest with you. And I don't know if I can open a door for someone, woman or man.
Might offend them. That's right.
Might offend them. Right? What do I do? I don't know. I have no idea. I'll be honest with you. I'm at the point now where I just go, well, you know what? I give up, because someone explain the rules to me, please, right?
Imagine if the only motivation you could do was to hypnotize them while they slept into believing the enemy was calling them by the wrong pronouns. What?
You're disrespecting me, Sergeant. Oh, really? Oh, no.
Go kill him.
Dreadful. That's dreadful.
It's the equivalent of the berserkers, is what it is. Now, I mean no harm in disrespect to anybody, right? What I'm looking for here was a way to motivate. My children need the internet. If I turn the internet off, they lose their ability to do anything. It doesn't matter. And they're incapable of functioning without the internet. It's almost like they've got the first release of Elon Musk's brain chips, but they don't. Oh. It's just that they're so connected to technology that when it doesn't function, they can't function. It's a symbiotic relationship. So I fear if there wasn't, if you know, I suppose everybody in America who's, a left-wing extremist, because that's not a term you're allowed to use, they could be motivated by believing that there were Republicans on the other side. You know what I mean? They just go after them. I remember that lady when Trump won, she defecated in the street on camera in front of the whole planet on a picture of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help but to remark to myself, she's a keeper. She's the kind of lady that you take home to meet your mother. Not. Right?
Yeah, you just hang on to that one, sonny boy.
She's a good one.
She's a good one. She's a good one.
It makes me quiver, Mackie.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point, because that's just nuts. I'm sorry. I don't care. You can do this in the privacy of your home, if you really hate someone, or you take some dog doo-doo and put it into a paper bag and put it on the front porch and and set it right, you know, if you want to do that. But I mean, because that stuff. See, this is the thing. It'll never go away now.
Yeah.
Forevermore, that's who she is.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
So where do we find? What's the motivation for people in this generation, the 18 to 35s? I failed to find the motivation. I just can't see it because they're not patriots.
I don't think. I think it's no. I think it's short term. The short term need to express yourself. So everybody was told in recent times, I guess, in school that you should express yourself.
That's
you
right.
should, and your opinion, whatever it is just as good as anybody else's opinion.
Yep.
I spoke about this. We're living in a knowledge democracy now, which means that my knowledge, my actual hard-earned, book learning, etc., is as good as your ignorance. It's just as good as your ignorance. Same knowledge democracy, and we are so media-ized that we think nothing of it. That we in fact, we want to be on TikTok and whatever else they're called, X, Twitter, whatever. And she wants to express herself, and she makes a splash. And I want to reach as many people as I can with my message. And the message is I'm going to defecate on Trump. That's the message. And it's a short-term thinking. There's no long-term thinking here at all. How many likes will I get for this, Dave? 1 million?
I'm not sure. If you put it on OnlyFans, probably a lot more.
Well, but the point is, I'll get likes, right? And that's the currency. Now, and this is really what I find troubling.
Yep.
You might have followed the news. The CEOs of Meta and X and
yes,
all the other, whatever they're called, they're all there, 6 or 7 of them, in front of Congress in the U.S. and all these parents whose children, for all intents and purposes, were killed by the internet.
Yes.
And that's what I mean. It's same with you. You mentioned your own children there, that they can't function without the internet. This has now become such a beast that it's beyond our control. Where it can. I mean, if you told me that somebody would commit suicide because they're being taunted on a computer 50 years ago, 40, or maybe not 50, but 40 years ago, I would have laughed at you. What do you mean? You turn the computer off.
That's right. You walk away. Done. Right.
Just turn it off.
Yeah.
If you, because I had problems in school, I can tell you about physical bullying. Yes, having to fight, not every day of my life, but having to fight quite a bit in the schoolyard. Right. That was a problem. See, computer bullying. What? I'll take that any day. But of course, it's a different kind of context, right? For these kids, that's their life. For me, you can take the internet away tomorrow. I don't care. Take it. Right? I need it for my work, so I'll be out of a job. But if I wasn't out of a job and still had another job, great. You can take it away. I don't need it to live. I got about 5,000 books I can read. So it's really the context. And you're right, Dave. You're 100% correct in identifying that this generation is very, very different to I guess us, the 60s kids, right? Very different. They're living in different contexts entirely, and it's not healthy, I don't think, at all. Because yes, we had accidents. We could fall off a tree branch. Something on fire.
That is the smoke alarm, but there's nothing. Just let me check.
You're safe?
So far I'm safe.
Everyone, this is not a drill.
I think the battery needs changing.
The aliens have landed. But we had safeguards. I mean, there were safeguards. I mean, and common sense, they would help us. Common sense and our friends in the real world, right? If you fall down, you can hurt yourself. You break your leg. You graze your knee, etc., etc. These things can happen in the real world. But again, you're not necessarily alone if your friends there, and good friends. and the bullies, they were in school, so or wherever they might have been, but you could get away from them. But these days, I think kids can't get away from that anymore because they carry their world around with them. The little devices they have. That's the world they live in, right? And there's no escaping these bullies, and there are no guidelines. And how would you help someone anyway? And you know what? The horrible thing about human nature is that everybody jumps on the bandwagon. Everybody jumps on it. Oh, we're gonna beat him up, or they're gonna make her feel bad, or whatever, right? And everybody jumps on the. They might not even want to, or they might even like you, but they're just gonna jump on the bandwagon because that's just what people do. They jump on the bandwagon, and much more so now with social media and the internet. Like these flash crowds, things that can happen. So it's dangerous. There are no safeguards. We're in completely uncharted territory. We don't know what to do. And what it has done as well, it opened the door to predators. Right? The puppet show has become dangerous. Whereas before we were passive participants in the puppet show. We would just watch the shadows, right? Now the shadows come out and hurt us. Right? They're predators on the internet. They could get to your kids. They could get to you. That just didn't exist back then. I mean, yes, the puppet show was still there. The shadows were on the wall, but that's where they stayed. The shadows didn't come into your life, right? They stayed on the wall. Not anymore. They're coming after you, right? This is the main difference. And kids these days, I don't know. It's hard to navigate these things. I mean, my kids have very limited access to screens. And no free reign at all. There's quite a few lockdowns in place. And they watched with me. They watched the news. My eldest, my daughter, she watched the news with me about the congressional hearings. And she goes, "What's going on there?" So I explained it to her. And she said, "But that's stupid. Why would they kill themselves?" I said, "Well, because they're being made to feel bad, and maybe some people tried to hurt them as well on the internet, right? And they sent nude pictures of themselves, and then they were made public." But she said, "That's stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you send a nude picture of yourself?" Mind you, she's 10.
That's right.
But she was brought up with common sense, so maybe that's the difference. You wouldn't, because that's stupid. It's a stupid thing to do. Because the thing is this, and I get it, because I'm sitting here in my study. I've got the screen up, right? With my mic here, my headset, and I'm feeling pretty cozy. All right, I'm comfortable. I'm on my chair. I can put my feet up. I'm in good shape, and I feel safe. Right? So what could possibly, what harm could befall me if I were to send pictures of myself somewhere? Because I'm still here, safe in my chair, right? And I can see how people get lulled into this false sense of security, being at home, sitting in their chair, in their room, maybe the lights off, even more safe, right? They're feeling like in a cocoon. That's not the case. This internet, the computer screen, the camera, that's your picture window into the world. The whole world can see you. Whatever you do on the internet, that's there forever and for everybody.
That's right.
But it doesn't feel like that, Dave, you see? Remember, we spoke about the journey that immigrants used to take?
Yeah.
Like on a steamer ship going to America, going to Australia, whatever, right? It'd take weeks. But they would understand there's this massive distance between the old country and the new country, right? Because it was a journey. Even if it went over land. If you want to go to Australia from anywhere, you have to take a ship eventually somewhere. But these days you go by plane, it's a couple hours, or 10, 20 hours compared to weeks and weeks. It's not the same thing.
There's music.
Oh, geez. And we've lost context completely, everybody. But we'll talk to you on Sunday with a new show topic. This has been Platos Cave. Thank you so much for letting us into your lives for even just an hour. It goes way too quick. Donate if you can, that's important. But most of all,